Welcome back. What's it like to work for an organization that tirelessly defends First Amendment rights? Well, sometimes it can lead to an interesting personal moment, like this one from my friend and communications director for FIRE, Daniel Burnett. A couple of weeks ago, he tweeted, "What's it like to work for FIRE.org, defending a professor under investigation for wanting a, quote, cure for homosexuality, while texting your boyfriend to ask if he needs anything from Trader Joe's." So now let's bring in my friend and fellow Georgia Bulldog, Daniel Burnett. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Katie.
So that was quite the tweet, but before we get into what it's like working for FIRE, who is FIRE?
So we are the unapologetic defenders of free speech. Our job is to make sure that Americans are able to speak their minds. And when we say unapologetic, what we mean is that free speech is a right, and we don't have to apologize for it, and we don't apologize on behalf of the people who we defend. We think it's just fundamentally better to know what people are thinking and where they're coming from. And that way you can combat that speech, say something else, and maybe even learn a little bit along the way.
Of course, we're big fans of the First Amendment here at Fox 5 as well, but your tweet struck a chord with me because it also seemed like what lawyers do. Our job is not to agree with our clients, it's to defend them and give them the best representation in their interests. So what was it like that day, and what is it like to work for an organization that so fiercely defends the First Amendment and then, as you said, call your boyfriend and ask him what he needs for Trader Joe's?
I mean, it's just another day at the office, I guess. This is something that all FIRE staffers kind of deal with, and it just comes with the territory of defending free speech. All of us have to defend people that we may or may not agree with. Our president and CEO is a liberal atheist, and he's spent 20 years defending, among others, conservatives and religious people. Every person here at FIRE certainly earns their chops by defending people that they very much disagree with sometimes.
The law and the country is almost certainly better for it. So are there any big cases that have been through the pipeline recently or that are coming up for you and your team that we should be keeping an eye on here at In the Courts?
Well, one interesting case that happened just a couple weeks ago and it was very much a FIRE day for us. In the morning, we were working with the student government, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, who said they weren't going to give any funding to any pro-life causes, organizations, or people. So we were, saying that, that is not what the First Amendment allows. Student governments have to give money out in a viewpoint neutral manner. And then in the afternoon, there we are in South Carolina. We are defending pro-choice speech. We're speaking against a bill that would essentially criminalize a lot of protected speech about telling people different resources they have of how to get abortions.
And FIRE is also working on an expansion right now, right?
Yep, so after 20 years, we expanded off of just campus, and so now our goal is to defend free expression for all Americans and help promote that culture where people, instead of just wanting to shut somebody else down for their beliefs, which is too often a knee-jerk reaction by people, we want people to sit down and listen to other people. If you disagree with them, argue with them, tell them why they're wrong, have debates and discussions. But we don't get anywhere by just, sending the speech underground, not letting people say what they have to say. We're all better off when we know what people really think.
Does FIRE face any criticism for some of the people that it represents, especially those who fiercely disagree?
Oh, we get that all the time. I mean, there are days that I'll get, called, you guys are this liberal organization, why are you taking these cases? And then 10 minutes later, I'm getting an email saying that we're conservatives and we're taking all those cases. And so we kind of assume that when that happens, we're doing our jobs. A lot of the people we defend are political minorities, sometimes people kind of on the fringes in some of their beliefs. Sometimes it's artists who are, expressing themselves in ways that people don't like. And sometimes it's faculty getting in trouble for their research or their teaching. And so basically we look at this and we say, who better to decide than the people what we have to talk about? We don't need a top-down censorship system in this country. We want to be able to speak our minds, and if somebody doesn't like what we have to say, they can counter it with more speech.
Taking heat from both sides is usually a good indication you're doing the right kind of work. Before we let you go, I have to ask you about Jasper, the free speech dog.
So we have a miniature Dalmatian, and he is the mascot of FIRE. Turns out all you have to do is wait for your boss to go on paternity leave, tweet it out on FIRE's official account, and that's all it takes. He's been going to our conferences now, and we are making him the mascot for free speech.
So next time we have you on the show, you're going to have to bring Jasper in with you so that Jasper can be part of the show too.
Happy to do it.
Daniel Burnett with FIRE, thank you so much for taking the time out of your important work to join us and teach us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Katie.
Don't go away.